House of Flying D's, now in session. Hello, friends. And hello, those of you watching on the rewatch. Let me tell you real quick what we're going to talk about today. This is not going to be a long stream. I would have made a short video, perhaps, but I'm working on a different video and don't have the time to make two before tomorrow. So the the Dragon Dreams video will be out tomorrow morning, fresh and hot, like very early morning, late tonight even. But today, let me tell you, we're going to talk about 4 things today, and we're going to get right to it. They're important. It's worth streaming about. And the reason, by the way, why I like to frequently live stream after there's these little teasers and stuff is because if I did the 5-minute video that just went through the pictures and said, this is that, this is that, this is that, then I would just be giving you the same thing that everyone else does on YouTube. So what I like to do is give you a little more. That's what I assume you're coming here for this for. I like to use the pictures in the trailer to key off a discussion. A lot of times those discussions are best when they're somewhat interactive, me coming off the top of my head and talking to you in the crowd. So we got 2 new trailers. So I was telling you what we're going to talk about. We got 2 new trailers. There's some pictures in them. That's cool. But there's a bunch of George stuff. That's the point. George, I transcribed it on my phone just now. There's 3 paragraphs worth of him talking about magic and how magic works. And it's a great follow-up to the lizard people that you see down there. You see the memes. Got my dank memes. Of course, you've watched the lizard people video. Right. So you know what that's all about. But basically, his comments about magic are a perfect follow-up to the lizard people thing. So I've got pictures of dragons. I've got pictures of Corlys Velaryon's treasures. We get a nice little tour of his treasures from his 9 voyages. I've got George's comments about magic. And then I'm going to tell you about incest, because I forgot to put the incest in the lizard people video, which is where it belonged. Of course, obviously, lizard people and incest go together like this. So those are the 4 things I'm going to tell you about today. And the George comments are going to flow right into the incest, blood magic stuff. And that's going to, like I said, follow up with the lizard people video from yesterday, which most of you have watched by now. Thank you. So with that being said, let me show you the pictures first. So that we can, get to the discussion part, because the pictures are kind of the show stealer. So first we have, it looks like it's a dank meme. What's this? Visenya, have we conquered Dorne already? Let's go burn more castles in the Riverlands. So if you haven't read Fire and Blood, you might not get this. If you have read Fire and Blood, this is friggin' hysterical. I've been laughing at this meme since yesterday. And I hope we get more old lady Vhagar memes to come. And of course, the trailer from a couple days ago gave us our first glimpse of old Vhagar. There she is. Virginia. I love that idea. She doesn't know who's riding her. She says, are we in Dorne? Have we conquered Dorne yet? Oh, man. And also, in case you missed it, you could see people were having trouble with how big. So you can see Vhagar here dwarfs. Hey, Maura Lee. Thanks, Maura Lee. I don't know what to say. Super fan, Maura Lee. Just a show of love for the fabulous content. You're welcome, Maura Lee. I do it for you, people like you, and myself. Let's be honest. I love dragons too. You think the Targs are Valyrian wargs? Kelly Johnson, great question. We were going to get into just that question in the incest blood magic portion today. So put a pin in that. But yes, that's a great question. That's exactly where we're going. So new footage. I'm done laughing now. So here we go. We got some Valyrian blood magic, and we've seen a shorter clip of this, but now we can see just what's going on here. And this is just sort of a monologue about blood magic. So you can see this is the wedding. So first of all, I thought that I didn't realize what was happening. So that's an obsidian knife right there that they are using to cut their lips and then kiss and mark each other's foreheads. And I guess I forgot to put it on. Well, you guys know I usually have my I have a knife. What am I saying? I usually have my obsidian necklace, but of course here's my dragon glass knife, which I got in San Francisco, by the way. Somebody was asking me about that. So there's a little bit of bloody lip cutting there, and then there's the forehead marking, and then there's a lot of blood. I always point out, like, it's running hard off of that hand right there. So there's a lot of blood being shed with whatever this ritual is here. So, and then of course we've seen these other shots. It's the knife. Again, I will point out that there are glyphs on the knife. You can see the swirls of the Velaryon steel, but then there are also runes or glyphs. Those are Velaryon glyphs. So there may be some secret on the knife itself. It's not just for stabbing White Walkers, or maybe that's what it says. I am for stabbing White Walkers. Maybe that's what it says. So we will see. We will see soon. Okay, so the longer shot. We've been seeing this one forever, but it's the longest one we've got yet. And if you check out the full-length ones are on HBO Max on YouTube. They give you some sound finally. So we get some like wing flapping and the seagulls. The talking is cut in over it. And the talking is always super out of sync when I do it this way. So I didn't include the sound, but go check it out on YouTube. And you can hear some of the dragon sound effects. So cool. It seems like the graphics might be improving as they're going. Like Syrax is more Syrax. I'm never going to get that right. I'm so sorry, guys. Syrax wins. Syrax is more yellow. Maybe it was just the I don't know if it was the graphics or like just how they finished the trailer or whatever, but definitely a yellow dragon. So real nice shot there, flying over. And this shot is in the first episode, so I've seen this whole one. It's really nice. It's like just a long King's Landing, flying home, to King's Landing shot. Almost like just like a movie, where you imagine if it was a regular movie, the movie would start and Rhaenyra would be on a horseback ride, breathless, and she would be riding into the castle, and you'd be like, "Ooh, that's the exciting one." So it's very much like that, but with a dragon. So you can see that here. And we've seen those other shots of her with Alicent, and she's just gotten off the dragon, and Syrax is being put into the dragon pit. So that's that. And we've got some candles here. So this is the best shot of the Sept that we've gotten so far, which is pretty cool. So they're talking about the religion of the faith of the Seven quite a bit. So I like the feel here. It's definitely, obviously reminds you of the Catholic Church. If you've ever been to a Catholic service, they love incense and candles. It's totally their thing. It's pretty cool, honestly. They got the incense things that they swing around. So similar vibes here. How much dragon lore was lost between the Doom and Egg's time? So there's been several Library of Alexandria's worth of loss of dragon knowledge. The Doom was the big one. We lost some at Summerhall with Egg. We also lost a bunch with Baelor the Blessed, and then with the downfall of the dynasty of Ares. Because even up to Rhaegar's day, they still had prophecies and stuff. Like if you noticed in the well, that's going to be in the video I'm going to release tomorrow. I forget which video I've done and which I haven't. I'm going to get into prophecy more tomorrow. But yeah, Rhaegar was like Egg and Egg's father and Daron the Dreamer. Ares the First is his father. Daron the Drunkard. Sorry, not Daron. He should be Daron the Dreamer. His dreams were what drove him to alcoholism. But Daron the Drunkard and Egg's dad, Ares, like they were reading prophecies as well as having dreams. And most likely those are the ones that Rhaegar was reading too. So the Targaryens, some people are acting like George has just dropped this thing in with the prophecy, like it's some new thing, like, oh, Aegon had a prophecy and the Targaryens knew about it, and that's why. And everyone's like, really? And it's like, yeah, actually, if you go back and read any scene about dragon dreams and prophecy, like Bloodraven, for example, says Targaryens have been having dragon dreams since before the conquest. So, like, Bloodraven has knowledge of prophetic dragon dreams that come from Dany's the Dreamer, probably. Sometime before Aegon, even. We don't know what those are, but George has been planting seeds that, like, the Targaryens have loose prophecies and dreams and scrolls laying around everywhere. That's what a gardener does, because then those are seeds that he could harvest at any point. He can pull and be like, oh, yeah, well, Aegon had a prophecy, and oh, yeah, there's a scroll over here, and oh, this knife had a secret message on it the whole time, didn't you know? But he's told us that stuff's laying around, so we're bound to find it. I'm still stuck on the cut lip. Yeah, it's pretty fucking metal, to be honest. And of course, I've got Minty on the job today, so if I miss your super chat, I will always get it. I think I've got them all so far, but so a lot of dragon lore has been lost. That's kind of what's so excited about House of the Dragon, is that with George's involvement, it's now this window into a time when there was a lot more dragon lore around. We hadn't lost all this stuff from Baelor and Summerhall and Ares. So as soon as the show starts, like, we could start getting information that's going to be pretty wild. And there is good stuff right in the first episode. So yes, over 500 watching. Thanks, everyone. Make sure you click like. We are all excited. We are like 27 hours away. Yes, 27 hours away from House of the Dragon. Oh boy. Oh boy. And thanks again if you're just joining for watching Lizard People. By the way, every live stream I notice, I see one person at least say, oh, it's my first stream. I'm so excited to catch it. Those are my favorite messages. I love you all. And yeah, I stream a lot more than other YouTubers. I love interacting with you guys. It's not necessarily a marketing strategy or anything like that. I really just like doing it. I've always loved listening to talk shows. So doing a talk show, I love it. I'm trying to get better at, keeping on focused and on the schedule so that you guys can listen to it. Who you all who aren't riddled with ADHD like me. But yeah. Anyways, thanks for coming. Hit the like. Make sure you're subscribed. Blah, 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 blah. So here we go. So one more time. Here is just our reel of stuff from the Sept. All these nice candles. Statues of the Faith up there. It's a good place to have little girl talk. Nobody's overhearing. Nice shot of the Velaryon steel necklace there. I love how it's kind of like heavy duty too. It's not dainty, right? Like those chain links are kind of heavy. It looks like you could take somebody off and like whip somebody with it or something. So, here's a good question. Actually, I'll grab this out of the chat. Do you feel the pacing of episode 1 was a bit too fast? I was at the premiere here, and it felt like to me they could have given scenes more breathing room. I didn't feel like that. I thought the pacing was good, and I did feel like there was room to breathe at certain places. Although I will say when the episode was done, I was flabbergasted by how much they had covered. So I thought it was very efficient. I do think the story will slow down when we get to the war. We're covering a lot of time in the beginning, but I enjoyed it. I like that vignette style a little bit. I'm going to like all the time jumps. Some people are having a hard time with that, I'm seeing in the reviews, but I like that kind of stuff. So I like dark and memento and all sorts of slightly irregular storytelling. Yes, the showrunners will ignore the Great Empire of the Dawn stuff, absolutely. It would have been too confusing if they had made the High Towers look even slightly Valyrian. So, yeah. Yeah, they're not going to go there. That would be probably just too much to get into. Now, if they get into a Valyria show, then you might eventually get there. And there was George recently. I wish I remembered the comments exactly, but he said something that sort of sounded like he was hinting about the Great Empire of the Dawn. As far as he said something about a Shai and dragons, but we'll get there eventually. I do think it will be important. In the last couple books, like Dany with the glass candle and Quaithe, the Ashai connection, we are going to learn about the Great Empire of the Dawn and get some exposition on that, I believe. And yes, in case you haven't heard, post-game show right here. There's a couple other post-game shows. We know you have choices out there, but we thank you for choosing us. It will be me and Grey Waste Tim and the amazing Girl Nettles. So, yeah, some people have seen the whole season. And some of the reviews were kind of negative, and some of them were kind of positive. I guess I can say a word about that. A lot of people have been asking me. Some of the negative reviews, I will just say, seem to lack substance. They seem to be written by people who don't really understand what the show's here to do. Like, oh, there's too many Targaryens. It's like, well, it's the premise of the show. I saw some people say that one review that's getting dragged a lot on Twitter said that characters are not relatable because they're all gray. And there was nobody like Tyrion. So you take that as you will. I thought a lot of the characters were they grabbed me right away. I mentioned Emma Arryn. Obviously, if you know anything about Fire and Blood, Emma Arryn is not in the story for very long. But I was immediately drawn into her plot. And there was all kinds of angles that I saw happening in the first episode, just the first episode, that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, they don't even talk about Emma's relationship to Rhaenyra in Fire and Blood at all. And then as soon as it's on screen, I was like, oh yeah, of course, they would have a relationship. And so, yeah, to me, the characters were grabbing me right away. Now, I'm better prepared because I already know the character's backstory, but I kind of feel like most of the negative reviews, and they're not like all negative. I think a couple of negative ones got a lot of attention at the beginning. The critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is like 92%, which is pretty solid. But I'm not really I would just say don't sweat it. You know, if you're reading too many of those, it's like a few people got like kind of upset about it. Like, don't worry about it. Everyone's going to make up their own opinion after tomorrow. And so, yeah, wouldn't sweat it. But to me, I'm seeing a lot of reviews that don't really understand what's going on. They're like trained for Marvel. Not that I hate Marvel, but just a more shallower kind of storytelling. And when I get to George's comments about the dragons, he talks about high magic and low magic and how people are used to seeing dragons in a certain context and stuff. So these dragons aren't invincible. You know, Vagar's old and like too big and too heavy, and Caraxes is kind of long, and the Targaryens, you know, they do weird inbreeding, and they have reptilian blood, and they have deformed babies, and like the shit's not all good. It's not just like, I got bitten by a spider, now I shoot things out of my arms and it's all good. Not that Spider-Man doesn't have turmoil. I'm not saying he doesn't, but you get my point. George always depicts magic as very difficult, very fraught, probably kind of evil, and messed up and twisted, and you got to sacrifice all this stuff, and it's always gnarly. Everything is gnarly. It's still Game of Thrones, guys. So, you know, I feel like some people wanted something that it was never going to be, but that's probably all I need to say about the reviews. Let's keep going with this footage, saving the best for last. Hold on. Vagar, is that you? No, I think this is actually Syrax. They're tricking us here. Syrax. I'm going to keep messing that up. I'm so sorry. They've tricked us by going straight to Vagar's foot, because that is definitely Vagar's foot right here at Aemond. But I don't think that's the same scene, because we're about to see Syrax's head in just a second, and it looks just like this. So check this next scene out right here. Oh, wait, new footage. It's a dragon. It's Caraxes. This is the one where I was like watching this morning, like, oh my God. Thump. Lands right on the bridge. Okay, so there's also this. Okay, I'll show you the sea smoke first, but we're going to go back to this Rhaenyra. We got most of the sea smoke footage already, but so two very cool dragon sequences there. You can see him flying. Instead of these short clips, we can actually see the movement, see the little bit of a gliding there, a little bit of flying, and George is talking about how they have to have really big wings to fly. And in fact, I will read one of George's paragraphs that's more about the dragon anatomy. Oh, I've got it up here. I'm sorry. I forgot. I moved it. So let me rewind back to a better frame instead of looking at her crotch. First of all, the face. Doesn't this look like the same face? Like with the ridge, you know, we were looking at the first face that was either Vagar or Syrax and saying, well, it looks kind of like an old dragon. But Syrax looks pretty gnarly here. I think all the dragons look kind of gnarly. So I'm going to say that is the same one as right here. And by the way, there's the audio of the snort. You see the little nostril snort? Now we get to hear it when you watch the footage on HBO. It's a little snort there, so that's cool. But doesn't it look like the same dragon? So I think it is, but just very cool. Love how they're moving here. Nice, gracefully gliding in. You could feel that air gusting, whoosh, whoosh. Now, I really like, one of my favorite things is the finger bones. You can, just like a bat, you can see how it's basically like a bat, how the finger bones of the arm have extended to form the wing bones. So very, very cool. Yeah, Vagar would never fit on that causeway. Yeah. Is this where I'm supposed to land? Visenya? Is that the helipad? So they look great. Also the color. Notice when you get this great shot of Caraxes and Syrax, like that's a yellow dragon and a red dragon. There's no doubt which is which. This is no longer the days of Viserion and Rhaegal and Drogon all kind of looking the same. all kind of looking dark, you know, like this is pretty colorful here in the sunlight. So I think it's really going to depend on the scene. But Caraxes always looks like he's smiling, man. I love Caraxes. I think that's obvious from the screen caps of my videos, but super awesome. So let me read you this George comment here about the dragon anatomy. Shout out to the person who commented that I hate it when people call wyverns dragons. And of course, in classic D&D, I think lore, like wyverns or wyverns, they're the ones that have 2 legs and 2 wings, and dragons, quote unquote, have 4 legs and 2 wings. But George crossed that bridge like 25 years ago. So like these are dragons. They're not wyverns. They breathe fire. Wyverns classically do not breathe fire, usually. So, but it's fantasy. You can do what you want. It's fine. They don't exist. So, George Martin said, sorry, I am having fun here. So what are the dragons like? They're flying beasts. They have to have very large wings, and you're not supposed, sorry, I'll just flop. I didn't mean for you guys to even read that. See, what are the dragons like? They're flying beasts. They have to have very large wings and a relatively slender serpentine body, a long tail, a long neck, 2 legs, 2 wings in front. They're made to fly and strike at their prey from the air. So you can see what George is talking about here. Like if you think about the things that fly in our world, it's just birds. And I can tell you that birds are very light. They have hollow bones. They're like, if you take all the feathers off a bird, it's like a mouse. So it's like a very lightweight mouse with just tons of fluff. Like Cleo looks big because she's all fluffed. But if you ever see a bird that plucks their feathers or when they get wet, they're very, very tiny. And bats literally are flying mice, yes. But I'm just saying, like, birds are very small and they're very light. They're weighed in ounces. So that's why they can fly easily. Now, dragons are reptiles. Reptiles are built completely different. They're thick and they're heavy. They get that thick, leathery lizard skin and, you know, thick arms, lots of musculature, and big jaws, which makes a lot of neck muscle and all that stuff. So how are you going to make a lizard fly? You need really big wings, and it's going to be a chore. And that's why they talk about Vagar is hard to get off the ground and a bitch to land. That's what it would be like trying to make a dinosaur fly. Girl, you always gotta... Did you get my shirt? No, you didn't. Okay, never mind. We're good. To make a dinosaur fly would be hard. Pterodactyls were very skinny and lightweight. And a pterodactyl is probably the best comparison for thinking about a dragon as far as its physicality. So that's why George is saying, well, the wings have got to be huge, and the body really does have to be long and skinny like a worm, because you could only weigh so much, or you can't, get off the ground. And yeah, pterodactyls had huge pecs. So do the birds. Even all the bird's muscle is on the chest. They got a giant breastbone, and all the muscle is anchored there. So yeah, that's chickens are closer to dinosaurs than crocodiles. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. It's just but as far as what I'm talking about, the dinosaurs were heavier, a lot of them. Yes, dinosaurs are also birds, but there's like millions and millions of years between dinosaurs and birds, so they are functionally rather different. Anyways, that's the point of what George is talking about. Long, slender, serpentine body, long tail, long neck, 2 legs, 2 wings in front. They're striking from the air. And then he says, and this, in the interview, it's really funny. George gets all excited. He's like, but then there's the fire issue. So many people associate dragons with breathing fire. Leaving that out would just feel wrong. I don't know who was proposing to leave the fire out. They are creatures of fire. They breathe fire. Fire doesn't harm them as easily as it would us, and there's something very magical about the fire. So I'll read the rest of his comments when I get into the blood magic part in just a minute. But there you go. So one more time. Cyrax wins. Come here. You're being a bitch. Go back to the thing. Okay. Nice heavy thud. So let's talk about what's happening in the scene here. You'll notice that Rhaenyra is landing behind Otto. So on the right are the gold cloaks, and on the left are the white cloaks and Sir Otto's party. And there's Daemon out in front with the white hair, and Mysaria just to his right. So Syrax and Rhaenyra are landing behind Sir Otto, which really makes you wonder about what she's doing there. Because Otto was there to stop Daemon from taking the egg, ostensibly. And so Rhaenyra is lining up behind Otto. She could be like backing him up to be like, my father said you can't take that, uncle, which would be shitty because we always want to think about Daemon and Rhaenyra on the same side. But maybe she's, maybe that changes around a little bit. And so possibly she's backing up Sir Otto here. More likely, she is surrounding Sir Otto with Daemon on one side and Otto on the other. Or maybe that was just the only place to land. But I do think it's interesting that we don't know quite what Rhaenyra is doing in the scene. So I will just say that. And let me just scroll up here. I think there was a couple supers. Do they maintain Rhaenyra's non-warrior status? I wouldn't know from the first episode. She's a dragon rider, but there's no wars. Well, let's put it this way. We haven't seen Syrax in the Stepstones. Like, we see they added a bunch of dragons there. Sea Smoke and Caraxes. Oh, Caraxes was originally there, but now Sea Smoke is there. Possibly Melis and Vhagar as well. Probably all four. But Syrax we've not seen. So Syrax probably, like, I could picture maybe Rhaenyra wanting to go, and Dad's like, no. But we'll have to see. Doesn't Rhaenyra get fat and out of shape? Well, she has 6 kids. I think that's maybe a nicer way to say it. She gets a little thicker, I don't know that they describe her as, like, obese. More like just thick, Mom bod. That's all. And I don't know how much they're going to mimic that. We've seen some shots of her pregnant, wearing maternity wear. Emma Darcy's obviously pretty skinny. So they'll probably not worry about that too much, I'm guessing. It was an opportunity to do a little bit of representation. They didn't quite get that, but that's all right. I think Emma's going to do a great job, so. All right. Oh, there's one. I was curious if you have any bias toward one side when it comes to the greens versus the blacks. I'm sort of in the middle. I'm Team Small Folk, famously, and my whole take on this thing is like all of the people in power, all the high lords to some extent that have power in this society are primarily responsible for maintaining the peace of the realm, and they let a war break out. So they're all culpable in one way or the other. And this thing is well written. It's a well-written, tangled-up mess where you can assign blame to a lot of people. Check out my stream called The Blame Game from last Sunday with Tony Teflon, and we went through the characters that we blamed the most. So, yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I understand the Rhaenyra side of it. I've undermined Rhaenyra's claim a little bit by pointing out some of the legal technicalities. That doesn't mean I'm Team Green. It's more about just showing the holes in the black argument. I think the green argument is obviously problematic. Problematic in the sense, like, legally problematic. So I definitely can't baptize either side. I can't say that the Greens are totally in the right simply because Viserys named her his heir. There's a lot more to it than that. So I think it's a well-written mess. And I'm Team Small Folk for the most part. So wet my whistle here, and then we'll get into let me show you the treasures of Corlys Velaryon. That's what oh no, the Sea Smoke. We didn't do the Sea Smoke. So let me give you this real quick. Seen that one. This is the new one. And then this other new overhead shot here. So Sea Smoke, you can see, is kind of silver looking. When the sun catches, you can see the wing texture is better now. Like, it's definitely a gray dragon with pink wing membranes. But I like a couple of these shots, not that one. And this right here, of course, reminds you of Dany in the last season, because that's our only reference for Dragon War. But this is cool. Like, we're going to be seeing those kind of dragon fights, like, all over the place, and not just against the White Walkers. So in the main storyline, I'm Team Dany if I'm anybody. I do like Stannis somewhat. I'm not a Stannis Stannerman, though. I'm not one of those people. So that's a very kind of silvery gray looking shot right there. And then you can see the glint on the wings just a little as she circles over the battlefield. So Stepstones is going to be fun. They're just teasing us, basically. That's just teasing us. So here we got Corlys Velaryon, a bunch of new shots of his very fine clothing. Oh, let me get that super chat. A 3-year wait, the buzz should be huge. Bad sign. Yeah, the buzz is huge. I don't know, Kelly. I mean, I run a Game of Thrones YouTube channel. The buzz is huge around here, so I don't know what buzz you're talking about, but all the fans that have seen the early screening are really excited, so I think the buzz will be just fine. And let me go back up here. I think there was one more. Yeah. So in the first episode, this is going to 30 years. The first episode gives us the Great Council and then jumps to the time when Rhaenyra is a teenager. And I think we're going to spend the first few years in approximately while Rhaenyra is 14 to 16, 17, when she can still be played by Millie Alcock. And then we'll probably jump a few years to, Emma Darcy. So the first episode is not going to cover 30 years. It's going to have the Great Council, and then it's going to jump a little bit, and everything will happen at the same time from there on. So it's not going to be overly like vignette-y. I mean, it felt like a regular episode, so it wasn't confusing. I think they'll mostly jump between episodes, and it seems like they will tell us. Isn't there only one source about Rhaenyra's weight? Well, I mean, the Fire and Blood is definitely suspect as far as the narrative, but I don't know. I don't remember which source said that. It doesn't seem like something you could lie. Like somebody's appearance is not something you would lie about. Everyone sees what the queen looks like, so I don't know why it would be a lie either. It's just she had 6 kids, you know. That's all there is to it. Yeah, like who cares? Like really, who cares? So moving on, the Treasures of the Sea Snake here is what we've got. So again, shots of Corlys, snappy dresser, we know that. So first one here is the mural. We've been getting progressively better shots of it. You can see there's a crocodile on the lower left, but if you go to the right, there are happy dolphins. Where are the happy dolphins? Oh, I've zoomed in too much. I'm so sorry. Oh, that's why I wasn't... Okay, we got to do one of those shots again. I apologize. The sea smoke one, yes, was messed up. So there's more sea smoke to see than what... I was zoomed in too far. Sorry about that. Yeah, this shot where he circles overhead. Yeah, so you could see more of him. Sorry about that. So let me just run that whole bit again. I think I did this whole thing zoomed in, actually. Let me do the other dragon footage real quick. No, I did it right. We saw it all. Okay. It is good looking though, isn't it? Oh man. I'm excited. Just so many dragons. I mean, come on, dude. I'm sorry. No one hated the Game of Thrones ending more than me, but how can you not be excited about this? So, okay, Treasures of the Sea Snake. So, yes, dolphins. There's the dolphins. They're the happy dolphins. I knew they were there. No peeps at my work knew it premiered this Sunday. Well, they've been running ads all over the place. I don't know where you work, Kelly. I'm not sure. But, yeah. I think it's just fine if it flies under the radar a little bit. So, it's going to win people over with its quality, not with the hype. Are there subspecies of dragons from House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones out there somewhere in hiding? I don't think no, I think Dany's dragons are the only ones that live in the timeline. I don't think any of these dragons survived to then. That would be pretty surprising if they did. I don't know about the Viserys feeling danger from the Velaryons. Some of the shots imply that could be the case, but not, I've not seen that as of yet. So, love the happy dolphins. It's kind of like you imagine Corlys, he's sailing and the sun is shining on his ship. The dolphins are happy. It's like this was a favorable voyage. You can tell from just the vibe of the painting. It's like, this is not the Velaryons coming to Driftmark. This is definitely Corlys' ship. You can see the snake on the prow, and you can see it here also. So this is going to be the ship, the sea snake, that Corlys is nicknamed after. We're going to have so much fun at the after shows. Oh, are we ever, Sylvia? And I am happy to share what knowledge I have accumulated in 8 years of thinking about a Song of Ice and Fire too much. Yes. And yeah, it is great that they gave us that shot from Caraxes' perspective. It is very cool. There's a lot of High Velaryon in episode 1. Yeah, there's a lot of. I think there's going to be High Velaryon pretty constantly. It's going to be a regular thing. The Dragon Keepers speak it to the dragons. The Dragon Riders speak it to the dragons. And we've already heard that Rhaenyra and Daemon speak it to each other. So all that is true. So this is cool. I think this is an actual sea snake here. I don't know where that is on the bigger mural. I think it's in the, it would be the lower left. So right over here in the lower left, you can see this mast and some sort of serpent coiled around the mast. So I guess sea dragons are real, guys. This is kind of exciting, to be honest. We've been wondering in the fandom if sea dragons were real for a long time. And it seems that they are. It seems that they are. I mean, it could just be an overgrown sea serpent. It doesn't look exactly like a dragon. But we don't know what even a sea dragon is. So, yeah. Yeah, George, you can two-part the question, buddy. That's cool. And we don't know which dragons laid any of the eggs. I will just say that. We know that certain dragons laid eggs. We do not know that any dragon is the child of another dragon. We just don't. Maybe they'll tell us, but we don't. And then Kelly Johnson, the High Towers are the true heirs of the Great Empire of the Dawn. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I appreciate that. And if you don't know what the Great Empire of the Dawn is, that's a whole playlist on my channel. It's a theory about the original Dragon Lords from Ancient to Shy. It's very exciting stuff. So sea dragon might be a subspecies of dragon, yes. And they may develop that, perhaps. I can't think. There's not any real sea dragon action in this story. There is in the Sun Chaser Alyssa Farman story, but okay. Look, no more questions about the weight, and no, they're not going to recast Emma Darcy. Like, this is really strange. I don't know if it's just one person or two people, but like, enough. And no, they're not going to recast Emma Darcy. All right, so moving on from the Sea Dragon. We have the Lightning Man. So, of course, repairing the cracks in statues with something nice is a very old tradition. And here we see is a gold filler, because this is the House of Velaryon. So it's some sort of statue of, we don't know who. It could be something he got from a foreign land. It could be a Velaryon. But the gold fill, so it's a Japanese tradition, I'm being told, and it's called, no, I'm not even going to try to say it. Thank you, Anu. If you want to tell me if you want to phonetically put it out there, I'll try to say it, but it's Kintsugi is the practice. So thank you for the specific knowledge. I usually have general vague knowledge, so yes. Okay, lots of people know what this is. All right, I'm feeling dumb. Very cool. I pointed it out, though, and it does look like lightning. I don't know if that's done intentionally to make this look like lightning, or if that has anything about Kintsugi. All right, cool. It's Kintsugi or Kintsugi. And yeah, there you go. So I'm wondering if this is meant to look like lightning on purpose, or if that's just how it happened. We'll have to see, but I'm always excited about... Okay, you're happy. You don't want them. Okay, yeah. So you don't have to worry about them recasting Emma Darcy. I think Emma Darcy is going to be holding it down hardcore. George's question was right below Kelly Johnson's. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let me look for George's question. Do you know why the Targaryens lost the knowledge to make Valyrian steel and fused stone and roads, and as they knew about the Doom? Yes, this is a question I love to talk about. In fact, my first blog post on Westeros.org was about why didn't the Targaryens bring more Valyrian magic with them to Dragonstone? They left behind dragon horns, how to make Valyrian steel, blood magic, fused stone, which is both for castles and highways, and possibly glass candles. Although I think glass candles are likely to still be around simply because the Citadel has them. They don't seem that uncommon. They talk about somebody in Karth being able to wake fire from dragon glass, which sounds like dragon glass magic, obviously. So I wouldn't be surprised if Aegon had a glass candle, but you're not going to see any of that other stuff. So the question is, did they leave it behind on purpose, or did they leave it behind because they didn't have it? It's one of those two things. They knew the doom was coming. The thing is, because there was all these different families in Valyria, and not all of them were dragon lords, it says the Targaryen dragons were bred for war. So you kind of get a feeling like Targaryen had war dragons. Like if they raised horses, they raised thoroughbreds. Somebody else raises plow horses. Somebody else builds farming equipment. So it seems like it's all divided in Valyria. The Targaryens probably never made Valyrian steel. That was probably somebody else. And so it's a very good chance that they simply didn't possess that technology, and when the doom happened, it was just lost. Now, the thing is, all the stuff that was left behind is blood magic stuff. Valyrian steel probably requires blood magic. Fused stone may or may not. I want to believe that Valyrian highways aren't paved with the bones of slaves, but maybe they are. Wouldn't be surprising. And obviously, all the human-animal hybrid stuff is blood magic. So it could be that the Aenar Targaryen is a semi-moral figure. And I've even speculated about him having a hand in the doom because he was so horrified about the Valyrian Empire, and there was no way to peacefully oppose it. And so he may have helped instigate the doom from the inside. That's the doom was an inside job, part of the title. As a moral play, because it was the only way to stop the Valyrian Empire. You can't fight them, so you literally had to blow them up. So if that's the case, then Aenar may have left behind all the icky stuff on purpose. So it's either that or because they didn't have it. So great question. Love that one. Always a good conversation, George. So thanks. Nice. That was worth finding. And let me. Sorry about the choppy scroll. Do I think season 8 should be redone with animation? No. I think the entire Game of Thrones series cannot be saved. It went off the rails long before season 8. As soon as they were done with the Red Wedding, they started freelancing. So I could see, when the series is done, a very high-quality animation adaptation of the whole series, yes, but it wouldn't be redoing season 8. There's no saving it, in my opinion. There's no saving what was done. And House of the Dragon shouldn't try to either. It's just going to be its own thing, I think. Cool. All right, so we're all caught up. Keep going with Corlys's treasures. Everything has got to be snaky. So I'm not sure what this is. It looks like part of a much bigger sculpture. But we've got some cool snakes. This is a bit Medusa looking. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't know if the statue is damaged or if it has, maybe those are barnacles probably. Yeah, those look like barnacles. So this is a statue recovered from underwater. So it's hard to say just what it's supposed to be. But it's definitely really cool. Nothing's going on about Emma Darcy. Emma Darcy is awesome. They're going to be playing Rhaenyra and probably winning awards, and there's no rumors or anything like that. It was just a random question that I commented on. That's all. So then we've got this mammoth, because remember, Corlys has been up north. He's been to the Shivering Sea and Mosavie and all those places along, the coast of the Shivering Sea, all the way along Essos. So he knows about mammoths. He knows about all the northern cold things. So yeah, that's what I was wondering. Is this supposed to be a grayscale or some sort of statue of somebody that's reptilian or something? It's probably just barnacles. But if you look up top, it's kind of snaky looking hair there. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of the Medusa statue and reading into it, but we'll have to see. And remember, Corlys is collecting these things from wherever. So we can't really read into the meaning of any of these statues. They're just stuff that Corlys picked up. This, however, is not. This is definitely a Velaryon ancestor. And you can tell because if you look at the helmet, it's very similar to the helmet that Corlys wears. It's got those same ridging, the fins that go back. It's got the same blue and turquoise coloring. And they use those scales all over the place because the scales look very fishy. Isabel, it could also be a squisher that Corlys killed. No, it's definitely a Velaryon ancestor. Well, that could be a squisher. Velaryon ancestors may have little squisher blood, but hanging around Driftmark. How did they get that Driftwood Throne anyhow? A pact with the Merlin King, so they're making deals with squishers. I'll tell you what that involves. A little squishing, that's what it involves. So here's another helmet. The style's different on this helmet, but it is also, all these helmets are conical, pharaonic, headdress-shaped helmets. So this is probably a Velaryon ancestor too, but it may not be. It could be a defeated enemy. I'm guessing it's still a Velaryon. Maybe that's a king helmet, and that's a soldier helmet. Who knows? That is the Driftwood Throne. There it is. Behold. Behold the Driftwood Throne, everyone. There it is. It's pretty cool. I was sort of picturing it like not carpentered, like literally driftwood just tacked together, like super gnarly looking. This is clearly driftwood that's been, carved and assembled into a reasonable looking chair. It still looks kind of rough though, so that's cool. I dig it. I'm down. I'm not a nerd rage person because I got a fixated idea of what it should look like. I think it's pretty cool. What do you guys think? The cockatoo's name is Cleo, and again, we don't know if any dragons are the children of other dragons. Yeah, the driftwood chair was always going to look crummy. I mean, it's driftwood. It's going to be, battered, and it's drawn from the sea. Like, that's the point. It's not supposed to be all fancy. Corlys has lots of fancy clothes to show that he's fancy, and he has a driftwood throne to show that he's rugged. So that's kind of the 1-2 punch. So those are Corlys' treasures. And now we get on to a bunch of Velaryon footage. Here's Great Council. Looks like somebody just got Queen Who Never Wasded. This is definitely the look that goes between them of being passed over. So that is the face of like looking, you can see the swallow there. She's trying to look professional, but she just, she just got passed over. So that's that. And, I see a couple PayPals coming in. I will check those in a second, guys. Thank you. And then we see this shot of them at the fireplace. One of the nice bits of dialogue that's happening over this section is Eve Best, the actress who plays Rhaenys, is talking about how her husband is her #1 champion and is always talking about how it should have been her and, how nice that is and how they have a healthy marriage and stuff like that. So very cool. Now, check out these shots. These shots are interesting. This is mostly from a funeral. We've been getting a lot of shots of this funeral. This could be the Emma Arryn funeral with the smaller pyre next to it for the baby. But just watch this. There's a look that passes between these two in the next shot. It's obviously the Great Council. Then it's going to go back to that funeral here. So, interesting. You can see comforting one of her kids there. She's got the funeral shroud. So, and then that look right there, that is a this means war look. And this I think is on Driftmark now, because if you look, that looks not like the first funeral. So the first funeral is in a field and it's kind of overcast. We've seen Emma Arryn's funeral, and that would be in this field here. This is entirely different. This is sunny, and this is a ton of Velaryons. This looks like Daemon and Corlys having a little war council out somewhere, maybe on Driftmark or on the Stepstones. Hard to say. Great Council, Great Council. And then this, again, I think is Driftmark. You can see all the stone behind him. That look right there, what is that? What are they reacting to? That is a like, I'm about to go F shit up and you know I'm about to go do that. Look, so this is, yeah, this is, so somebody, yeah, that could be. I'm not going to comment on who could be dying in the various funerals because it's a little spoilery. But those of you who know Fire and Blood have some guesses in the chat. I can see that. So, and this is one more shot of Corlys. This is where he's saying history doesn't remember names. It doesn't remember blood. It remembers names. It remembers names. So that was Corlys saying that in that first one. Okay, so next we have George's comments, and this is going to lead us to incest and a little extra thought on lizard people and blood magic. And I'm going to go back to some exciting dragon footage. Actually, I'll leave this up for a second. I'm sorry, but so much of the Targaryen stuff is like straight from an 80s music video. I mean, the fan cuts of this footage is just going to be great. So yeah. Oh, and let me check the PayPals too. Epitome of more pride than sense. Yeah, for sure. They're very hubristic and prideful. That is definitely a big part of it. And that's part of the personality of the dragon. Could there be ancient animosity between the children and the Velaryons? Yes, Josh. That's a deep lore question, but yes. There could be. Could be a reason the Velaryons never came to Westeros is because they were afraid of Greenseers stealing their dragons. That's a very old fan theory. We don't know if Greenseers can warg dragons, but maybe they can. Skin change dragons, excuse me. Warging is for wolves. My thoughts on Mysaria's accent. Give it time. It sounds like it's kind of French. I don't know. I only heard 2 lines, so. Will HBO consider doing a series on High Valyria? Probably. I do think that would be one of the things on the table. And I'm just looking for super chats. Okay, we're up to date on that. Let me grab a couple of these PayPal questions. Yes, Dana did have a dream about the people of the Great Empire of the Dawn. Kelly. Absolutely. That's where the Great Empire of the Dawn theory comes from. Primarily is those gemstone-eyed people. Yes. And I just don't think, again, I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I just don't think they're going to show that in House of the Dragon. But that could come into it when they get into like a Valyria show. That's probably when I would think to see it. Because it's just so far back. It'd be just hard to relate to what they're talking about right now. So I don't see how that would work. And Kelly, I don't know the series you're referencing, an animated series. I don't know that one. What is it? Gendy Tartakovsky's animated Primal. So those of you who know that. But yeah, I definitely think an animated A Song of Ice and Fire series would be awesome. No doubt about that. Probably when the books are finished. So George's comments. We're going to talk about blood magic and incest. Going to explain the incest to you guys. So here it is. Big moment. George says, every fantasy writer, one of the basic questions that you have to settle when you start out writing your books is how are you going to handle magic, sorcery, the fantasy elements. You see a lot of people writing in secondary world universes, which just means not Earth universe, that are very high magic. It's something that anyone can learn and anyone can do. I can make it. You can make it. You have the recipe. It all comes down to writing. To my mind, that took the magic out of magic. In magic, it's not just the recipe or the words or the spell. It's who you are, who's doing it, and what you're feeling when you're doing it. So we've heard George talk about high magic and low magic before. Basically, George just needs there to be mystery. He doesn't like there to be a formula or a magic school or recipe or anything like that. And he doesn't like, oh, it's not about reciting the words exactly right. Like you've seen in some fantasy, it's like, oh, you don't close a circle exactly, or you don't say one word right, and something weird happens. And that's not really how he does it. So going on, he says, the Velaryons, while practicing their blood magic, which again you can see on the screen here, while practicing their blood magic and their fire magic, noticed that it didn't matter whether you pronounced the words of the spell right, whether you made the correct sacrifice to the correct god. all of that may have had some importance, but one of the big things was who you are and what your relation particularly was to the dragons. So George is talking about lizard people. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the fact that the Velaryons, they can do magic not just because they set a spell. They can do magic because they are lizard people. Because what's their relation to the dragons? Like literally, they're related to the dragons. Their relation is that they are related. And that is why they can do their magic. So it's less about bloodlines as far as like, the promised son of one person. It's more about just that these people are there are human animal hybrid species that was created with some gnarly magic way long time ago, and now they can bond with dragons. The point is, though, there's no free lunches. If you think about it, if this is, again, George, it seems like George uses a little bit of genetics in his thinking about stuff, but only in a very superficial level, right? So to the extent that there is some sort of difference to the Velaryon genome, the incest is obviously to preserve that little bit of reptilian DNA. When they talk about keeping the blood pure, it's not keeping the blood pure. It's more like keeping it impure. It's more like trying to focus those dragon traits and bring them out. So it is breeding. And obviously this is like eugenics and like kind of creepy, weird stuff. Anytime you talk about breeding humans in the same way as animals, you get into some really weird territory. That's intentional. The Velaryons are supposed to creep us out a little bit. This is another problem I had with people complaining that, the actors cast weren't hot enough, or something, like they should all be like, you're not supposed to revel in the idea that they're godlike. Like it's demonic. It's twisted. And if you want to sympathize with the characters, being born a Velaryon is very much a mixed bag. It's not just, oh, cool, I can ride dragons. It's like, oh no, you're going to have fucked up dreams, and you might be like, you might have weird weaknesses and deformities and have trouble having children. It's definitely a version of the European royal inbreeding, the Habsburg chin. I see someone commenting, Isabel. It's definitely a take on that, because the whole idea of the European royalty is they were trying to hold on to power, and they married cousins and family members to consolidate their generational wealth and their political power in their family. So the dragons are just a more obvious version of that. By making the dragon bond a blood thing, it means that these Targaryens have to think about who they're marrying, because anybody they marry, the children can now be dragon riders. So you're effectively giving dragon power to a new family. And this is one of the things about House of the Dragon, is that the Velaryons, they have dragons too. So you have your royal Targaryen house that has dragons. If only the Targaryens have dragons, there's no war, really. Nobody can oppose the dragons meaningfully, unless the king is very weak. So, like Aenys. But now the Velaryons have dragons too. So now the Targaryens and the Velaryons always need to get along and essentially act as one, or else there could be a war. And then the Hightowers come along, and then Alicent has children with Viserys that are half Hightower that are now dragon riders. So now there are 3 families that have dragons, and that is one of the things that precipitates the war. So one of the things about the incest is, it is to bring out those Velaryon genetics, okay? But 2, it's also to keep the dragons in the family so that you have a monopoly on dragon power. Now, 3rd, there could even be a more technical, magical layer to it. The idea that the dragons, the dragon bond may be a familial link. So, for example, the dragons that are descended from a dragon can bond with the people that are descended from that original dragon rider. So all the Targaryens are essentially bonding with dragons that are descended maybe from Balerion, or, Vhagar or Meraxes or something like that, or an older dragon even. we've seen a lot of times the dragons get passed from parent to child or from uncle to nephew or something like that. And that is one thing I've pointed out a couple of times. You know, Quicksilver was written by Aenys and his son Aegon. Caraxes was written by Daemon's uncle. Meles was written by Rhaenys' uncle. And Velaryon went from Aegon to Maegor, so that's father to son. And I'll go back for a couple super chats. I've just been going here. So it could be, and also Sea Smoke, you know, is Laenor Velaryon's dragon, will later be claimed by a bastard descendant, Adam, of House Velaryon. So it could be that the familial incest, literally not just like, oh, I need another Velaryon-looking husband or wife, but an aunt, a cousin, a nephew, is because they are trying to maintain a connection with this original dragon bond link so that they can continue to bond with their dragons. And it could be that part of the reason why the dragons died out is they didn't manage that properly. Yeah, Maegor is Aegon's son, exactly. They didn't manage that properly and thereby lost the connection to the dragons. But there's a lot of cool theories about that. Preston Jacobs has a dragon hatcher theory that's really popular. But the main thing is to understand that the incest is not purely vanity. Like with Jaime and Cersei, it's very much a vanity. It's a Narcissus thing where they are a mirror image of each other, and they are both very narcissistic and egotistical, and them being the only acceptable match for each other is very much a hubristic ego exercise. There's always some of that with incest when you're writing about it in a fictional universe, you know, as one does. But with the Velaryons, there's a lot of technical reasons for it. It's a magic thing. And it's not just a matter of, I need another, you know, someone else with Velaryon looks. A lot of times they specifically seem to choose people they're related to. And it also says the Targaryens, or the Velaryons in Valyria, practiced familial incest. And if you think about it, back in Valyria, if it was just about marrying another person with a dragon blood and another person that looked Valyrian, you could have the Velaryon families intermarrying with one another. But it says that they practiced incest all the way back in Valyria. So why would they do that? The only reason that you can come up with is because the dragon bond is passed down through the family. And if they were to marry other Valyrian houses, the dragons would get out of control. And they may lose the ability to control their family dragons. So that, to me, is a big clue that the incest is specifically done to protect this family dragon thing, and that the dragons are passed down in the family. So that's the reason for the incest, as clearly as I can say it. So let me go back for some of these super chats here. Thanks for being patient, folks. Got a question, page 3, George says. I will try to find your comments, George. You didn't tag me in the last one. That's why it was hard to find. You got to do the @ David Lightbringer so it pops up in orange like these fine people. Yes, George is definitely making a statement about eugenics. Will Drogon get a sequel series? If they do a Jon sequel series, I could see Drogon coming back into it, even if Dany doesn't. But there's so many problems with the Jon series. I did a video about the Jon series if you want to know my thoughts about that. Do you think people will start speaking High Valyrian like they did with Klingon? I don't know what the Klingon reference is. There will be a fair amount of High Valyrian. Welcome to the Squishers, Mr. Taplin. Veggie Vampires with a super chat. Did Greenseers fight Velaryons at Hardhome? Well, that's an interesting theory. I don't know that Velaryons were involved at Hardhome, but they could have been. I do think the Screaming Caves are volcanic. I do think that there might have been worms there. So, and the explosion seems similar to the Doom. So it could have been, one of my favorite theories is that it's a forerunner. It's the forerunner for the Doom in some way, either intentionally or accidentally. But yeah, that's just so speculative. We don't have really much to go on with Hardhome. If George wants to reveal that, he definitely could, because we definitely will find out more secrets about the North. we don't even know what happened. Like something just happened at Hardhome right now that we need to find out about. So we're either going to see Hardhome or hear about it. So we will get more Hardhome information to hopefully to flesh out those theories. Because right now the Hardhome theories are just, there's just so little to go on, you know. I like the hypothesis that it has something to do with, like I said, at least worms, definitely volcanism, so potentially Velaryons, yeah. The best way to donate to the channel, if you have a larger donation, is with the PayPal link in the description of the video. The super chats are good for smaller donations and just popping me questions real quick, like we're doing now. And whatever's easier, because, you know, I appreciate it all. And that brings me up to date. So, wouldn't the dragons just switch families? How does interfamily marrying lose control? Well, what I'm saying is they lose the monopoly. There's two things I'm saying. One is the monopoly, and the other is the diluting of the blood. Okay? So, if only people descended from Aegon the Conqueror or one of his sisters have the ability to bond with the Targaryen dragons, then each time one of those Targaryens marries a non-Targaryen, the children are coming out with less, potentially, of those genes that allow them to bond with the dragon. So periodically, people that both have Targaryen blood in some amount marry each other, because that then reconcentrates the Targaryen blood and preserves it. So that is one issue, is the dilution of the actual blood of the dragon. And more specifically, again, not just Valyrian looks, but specifically descent from Aegon or his sisters. The other issue is that when you marry outside the family, those children then can be dragon riders. So like I said, Velaryon is dragon riders now because Rhaenys married Corlys. So King Jaehaerys, he could have nixed that marriage if he wanted to, and said, no, you can't marry Corlys because Corlys is the most powerful person in the kingdom, and if his children were dragon riders, he might develop into a threat to us. He could have taken that stance. He did not, probably because he was tight with Corlys and felt like it was all good in the hood. You know? So he's like, cool, they're on our team, it's fine. You couldn't have chosen a better match. But then they have to worry about that as the Velaryons suffer these insults. The Targaryens have to treat it very carefully now because they have dragons. And obviously the Hightowers, you know, gaining dragons through Alicent marrying Viserys is how this war got started in a large part. So that's what I mean. The blood gets diluted and they lose the monopoly. Yes, and Meg is saying, yeah, if all the Valyrian houses were trying to further one another's cause by marrying one another, yeah, but the thing is, they still would have had alliances occasionally. Like in Westeros, all the houses are struggling with each other for power, but you always form alliances, and there would be marriages within the allies and stuff. But the familial incest says that there's something magical to do with that, in my opinion. Let's see here. And then, if Drogon gets a series sequel, will he find more of his kind, and will he have offspring? I don't know. I don't know. It would be kind of sad, I guess. Drogon is the last dragon, so there would be a question. It'd be kind of like, again, going back to How to Train Your Dragon. Is there another Night Fury out there? Right? So, yeah. Those things are influencing each other, like I said. Can you think of a Targaryen that married a Celtigar? Not off the top of my head. I don't know if they have or not. I honestly don't know. I don't have all the marriages memorized. Supposedly there are 365 Valyrian glyphs, I am being told. Dragons in this universe, asexual? No, it's an open question as far as what that is. Some people think they might be able to change gender. Some do not. We do not know. There may be some, because sometimes dragons are referred to as she-dragons and they continually lay eggs. So we really don't know the truth of it. Missed Kelly's Dawn question. Let me go see if I can find that. Oh, will we see a Dane carrying Dawn in the show? Kelly, the video for you is, will Darkstar steal Dawn? With the answer being yes. I believe that Darkstar will steal Dawn and carry it for a time. I believe he will be killed, possibly, but with Edric Dane might have a hand in that. That might be a little too much wishful thinking. But I don't think I think that before the 5-year gap was scrapped, Edric Dane was going to carry it into battle and die, and the sword was going to end up in Jon's hands. That's what Dawn needs to do, is it needs to get in Jon's hands. Dawn was the original ice sword of House Stark. It was the sword of the last hero. It's easy to figure that out. Was the last hero a Stark? Probably so. Everyone thinks so. Did the last hero carry Dawn? Last hero had a sword of dragon steel. Most people think that was probably Dawn. And also Lightbringer. That's the same sword, most people think. So consensus wisdom is that the last hero probably was a Stark and probably carried the sword Dawn. Then we have the Starks carrying on this tradition where they name their swords Ice for thousands of years. Because the Valyrian steel ice isn't the first ice. It's a 400-year-old sword, but before that, there were other swords called Ice. It's a name that got passed down. What started that tradition? Well, it was when a Stark saved the frigging world from the Long Night with a big white sword that looks like a stick of ice. And so they named all their subsequent swords Ice. So, Dawn, originally carried by a Stark, that's what began the naming tradition of Ice, and that is why Dawn is the, quote, original Ice. That's a 2-part video series. Dawn is the original Ice 1 and 2, so watch those 2, and then watch Will Darkstar Steal Dawn, and you'll know everything that I have to think and say and predict about who's going to carry it, what's going to happen. It needs to get to Jon, because Jon is the new last hero, and he's also a Stark, and so he's got to do the Lightbringer thing, you know. Pretty self-explanatory. Would the dragons... okay, I got that one. That's right. I saw a couple new ones, though, come. And I apologize, I can't get every question that I'm tagged in. Love your content. Do you think Dany's dragons were able to lay eggs in the books and produce more dragons? They haven't as of yet. One of them should be able to. It'd be funny if they were 3 male dragons. And I do think that dragon's eggs could be a way that George could hint that maybe magic will come back. I don't think any of the dragons will survive the story. But there could be dragon eggs just to be like, yeah, maybe, you know. I think Janera Belaries kept quiet about Sothorios. That's an interesting theory, Kelly, that she didn't say the truth of what was there. What do you think she found that she didn't talk about? I'm not sure what she would be covering up. What would be the conspiracy? Marvin Martin, ever see a dragon warg one day? That's an open question whether or not that can happen. The problem with dragon warging potentially is that dragons are beings of fire, and when you skin change an animal, you fully inhabit it. You feel like a bird if you're in the bird. You feel like a wolf if you're in the wolf. You think wolf thoughts. So if you're in... Dawn is currently in Starfall. If you're in a dragon is like living fire. So... that might be painful. Skin changers seem to be repelled by fire. So I don't know if a normal skin changer could skin change a dragon. Now, Jon, however, if he turns into a fire white and retains his skin changer magic, now that is a person who might be able to skin change a dragon. Or maybe Bran, because he's the most powerful green seer ever. But it is totally theoretical. And I've got a couple PayPals that I'm going to grab here. Kelly, Relorism is present in Valyria. It could be that that Relorism is goes back to the original Valyrian blood. I think it all goes back to Ashai, and I talked about that in my Melisandre's Secrets series, which you'd probably like based on your questions. I think all of the Azor Ahai Valyrian magic, Relorist magic, Shadowbinder magic, all goes back to the original stuff. Minty's requesting more dragons. Sorry, I left that one picture up for a long time. And I'm trying to wrap this up and get out of here. You guys are sending me PayPal, so I'm answering your questions. But my intention was to keep this short. It is not working. Here, And Cleo's being a fucking bitch. Girl, stop. Sorry for the language. There you go. There's a good one. Morning is the child of Syrax. We are told that... Okay, cool. So there is one, at least, that we know one dragon comes from another. Syrax. Syrax, as she's called. Oh, man. There's like 2 people that continually harass me for mispronouncing the names. No one else cares, but whatever. Do you think there are actually living dragons in Ashai during the time of Daenerys? I think that isn't possible, but unlikely. And I think if there are dragons in Ashai, they're not any that people are going to ride out of Ashai. It's not something that's going to affect the story. What is the giant unidentified abomination in Valyria that attacked Velaryon when Araya rode her there? I don't know if George even intends to have an answer, but the logical answer would be another dragon or a fireworm or some monster that we don't even know about. Those are the 3 choices, so I would probably say a fireworm. Yes, Aemon, I don't know about reciting an incantation. He's speaking High Valyrian. And the word means like calm or easy, something like that. It's been translated. And that is, that's not a spell. The dragons are used to taking commands in High Valyrian. So Aemon is attempting to be a dragon tamer here. He's using the techniques. Is Dany's egg descended from Dreamfire? We do not know, but that is a good chance. So what we know is that Dany's eggs are the ones that Alyssa Farman stole. Because George said we would learn the origin of Dany's eggs in Fire and Blood. That's the only candidate. There's 3 eggs. They ended up in Pentos. It's very obvious those are Dany's eggs. But we don't know if those are Dreamfire's eggs. Alyssa Farman stole the eggs from Dragonstone. It was after Rhaena and Dreamfire returned to Dragonstone. If Alyssa had stolen the eggs from Fair Isle, then we would know that they were Dreamfire's eggs. But it was from Dragonstone. So she just stole eggs from the hatchery. Dreamfire was there. Dreamfire was an egg-laying dragon. You know, Dreamfire's the dragon that the story is connected to, but there were other dragons on Dragonstone at that time. So the eggs, we don't know for sure. It would make the most sense if they were Dreamfire's eggs, but we'll see. Cool. All right, guys. So last call for questions here. I've explained the incest. I have shown you the pictures. There's Audrey's PayPal. No question. Just saying thank you. You're welcome and thank you. Kelly with another question. Do you think the Velaryons are descended from an ancient Valyrian house that took Summer Islanders as slaves? No, we are told that the Velaryon. Well, okay, I see why. Okay. So the Velaryons. We are told that slavers came. No, they weren't Velaryons though. They were like Giscari. So there is a story. I think it's when Jaehaerys is king or Aegon is king. There was a big slave raid on the Summer Islanders where they came and captured a bunch of them. But that is the only report we get of that. So no, I don't think that there's no story that the Velaryons ever attacked or had conflict with the Summer Islanders. In fact, the birds from the Summer Isles were prized in Valyria. That is something we're told. So it's more likely that Valyria would have trade connections to the Summer Islanders. But the Velaryons may or may not be, they may or may not have a Summer Islander connection. It could be that they are expanding. Like, it doesn't make sense that people that we would call black or like of African descent are only from the Summer Isles. I think there's a mystery there having to do with Sithorios potentially. That's a crazy theory. But it would make a lot of sense if they want to say that in some parts of Essos, there are darker skinned people. We know that there are darker skinned people, like the Giscari are quasi like Middle Eastern sort of. It's very loose parallel. Don't make too much of that, but they are definitely a darker skinned people. So the Velaryons being, again, black is in the term that we would say, they could just be from Essos, because the thing about Valyria is that they are like the Roman Empire. They spanned many cultures and continents, at least 2 or 3 continents and many cultures, and not all of the people they conquered would have just been subjugated. Some of those people would have become part of the empire. So there could have been some of those Valyrian houses in Valyria that were from other places or that practiced various religions. So the Velaryons could have a Summer Islander connection, or they may not. I'm very curious to see, and of course I made a video all about speculating about the various options for that lore. I'm always interested in world building, and so I mostly just want them to have an answer for it, as far as like, tell me about, if you're changing the backstory of the house, like give it, tell us. Like, it's interesting to know. We want to know, like, was Valyria diverse? Was there more, how obsessive was the genetic purity stuff? These are all open questions, because the thing is, like I said, mostly the incest seems to be a dragon rider thing. The Velaryons are not dragon riders. They don't really have a motivation to do the familial incest, and that would have been true going all the way back to Valyria. So it's really only the dragon riding families in Valyria that had a strong motivation to practice familial incest and all that. The other ones, who knows? So it's a lot of gray area. Looking forward to seeing some of it filled out. The fact that they're doing a Sea Snake spin-off show, possibly, means that I think we will get the full backstory on House Velaryon. And they've also told us we're going to spend a lot of time on Driftmark, too. So we may get that in this show. And yes, Minty is quick. Pew, pew, pew. Michael says, if sea dragons don't fly, which it seems likely they might not, do you think they may be more like sea worms? Well, they could have, like, fins. Maybe they fly underwater. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of fish have wing-like fins, and that's like a manta ray or something. So, could be like that. I don't think that they should fly. That would be too much for one animal to swim in the ocean and then fly up into the air. So, I would think that they would only be swimming. So, they would be more like sea worms. Yes. They need to breathe fire underwater, though. That's what we need. That's the cool part. Does Dawn hold part of Dany's Nissa Nissa soul? I don't understand the Dany part of that question. It is said that Nissa Nissa's soul and strength went into Lightbringer. So if Dawn is Lightbringer, it is implied that her soul is in there. I don't know if that is going all the way to like Elric and Stormbringer, if it's that literal, or if it's more just poetic language to describe all of Nissa Nissa's mojo going into the sword. I don't think that we can necessarily talk to Nissa Nissa inside the sword. I don't think the sword's going to start talking like the one from Lord of the Rings, the black sword. Oh my God, why can't I? Gurthang. I don't think it's going to talk like Gurthang. So probably not. I don't think we should think about it as having Nissa Nissa's soul. Nissa Nissa's soul, if it's anywhere, it's in the Weirwood net, in my opinion. And Kelly, it seems like you should just watch all of my videos. I'm kidding, but I'm kind of not. You're asking great questions that are things that I have dove into in my heyday of like exploring the utmost backstory of this thing. So check out the Weirwood Goddess series. Check out the Weirwood Goddess stream that sums up the Weirwood Goddess series, where I check out Weir Walkers, and no, Dany is not a reincarnation of Nissa Nissa. There is not reincarnation in the story. It is not like the Dragon Reborn in the Wheel of Time. Rand is the Dragon Reborn. He has like the old soul in his head talking to him. Dany does not have another presence in her. So to say that is totally speculative. We're not given any mechanisms of reincarnation in A Song of Ice and Fire. The Azor Ahai Reborn thing is more like a role. She is not going to start having memories of Azor Ahai's past life, I don't think. So no, I do not think that Dany is Nissa Nissa reincarnated. I think that is an archetypal parallel only. But I guess that's subjective. That's my opinion. But yeah. So, okay, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I need to get back to working on my video. Yeah, thanks for all the great questions, and I will see you again tomorrow with a fresh video. Will be about, what is it about? Dragon Dreams. Yes, Dragon Dreams. So if you haven't watched the Lizard People video, check that out. If you have watched Lizard People, make sure you check out the Long Night Prophecy video. That one is going to set up tomorrow's video. So, and also Dracomorph. So there you go. All right, guys. You're welcome for all the content. I'm having fun bringing it to you. Can't wait for the show tomorrow. And make sure you, not make sure, but I would appreciate it if when the stream is over, you would click refresh and leave a comment. That would help YouTube know that this is an awesome stream to show people. And that's it. What about Danny's having dreams of being Rhaegar? I think that I'm going to discuss that in tomorrow's video, actually. So I think that that is a really good bit of poetic writing. But she's not, obviously, Rhaegar reincarnated because they were both alive at the same time. So that has nothing to do with reincarnation. That is Dany having internalized the Battle of the Trident, and she is transposing it onto her moment fighting the slavers because that is her own Battle of the Trident. So that's what's going on there. All right, guys. Thank you very much. And I will see you tomorrow with a new video. And, of course, tomorrow night after the episode for the post-game show. So I will see you then. Oh, boy. It's coming soon.